All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast, and for the final part of the show, just some quick takes, a quick take segment. We got several different topics I wanted to get into. Um, so Zach Martin, start off with Zach Martin, the longtime offensive guard for the Dallas Cowboys. After 11 seasons, he is calling it a career, and he's a guy that is definitely going to Canton. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler in 11 years with the Cowboys. Um, and only Hall of Famers Bob Lilly, Larry Allen, and Mel Renfro, along with Jason Witten, who also had 11, who's eligible for the Hall of Fame for the first time, have been named to more. He was a first-team All-Pro pick 7 times, which is tied for the most in team history with Lilly and Hall of Famer Randy White. Martin's 7 first-team All-Pro selections are also tied with Hall of Famers Randall McDaniel and John Hanna for the most among guards all time. And the only player with more first-team All-Pros and selections since Martin entered the NFL in 2014 is retired, and that is Aaron Donald. And Martin only has 7 accepted holding penalties in his career, equaling his number of first-team All-Pros. I mean, he was part of that offensive line, in 2014 with Tony Romo, and, the year DeMarco Murray led the league in rushing. I can name pretty much that entire offensive line. Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Doug Free, Tyron Smith, and I think Ronald Leary was the other guard. That was a very good offensive line. And then, a couple years later, you had, also helped Darren McFadden get 1,000 yards rushing in between that, 2015. And then the following year was Dak and Zeke, and then the line is kind of, it's dwindled down over the years, but he was the last member from that offensive line, and now he is retiring. So that is that's kind of a big deal for the Cowboys because he's been a staple on that line for so long. But now they're gonna have to figure that out. Those are big shoes to fill on that line for the Cowboys. So congratulations to him on a great career, and enjoy your retirement. He is going to Canton. That's his next stop, though. So the other thing I wanted to get into as well is Bobby Portis of the Milwaukee Bucks. So he actually has been suspended for the rest of the regular season. So it's a big loss for the Bucks because he took a painkiller called tramadol rather than Toradol, which I didn't hear about this until our production meeting. It's amazing how things like that continue to happen. This was actually a medication that I think was banned recently. So it is on the banned substance list, and he ended up getting, he ended up testing positive for it, and he got suspended for that. And he said, I was dealing with an elbow issue or an elbow injury and using an NBA-approved medication for pain and inflammation. During that time, I made an honest mistake and took a pain-reducing anti-inflammatory pill that is not approved. I feel horrible and recognize that I'm responsible for what I put in my body. According to his agent, he took the painkiller unintentionally. And, so he's going to be out. That's a big loss for the Bucks. But, he should be back for the playoffs. But, yeah, it's weird how that kind of stuff just continues to happen. Now, the other stuff I wanted to get into. So I did. Let me bring this up before I forget. And that's, Major League Baseball is testing out the automated ball strike system. And it's not going to be, where you're going to have robo-umps. It's going to be the batter. Players are going to have the ability to challenge balls and strikes. And it's a challenge system. So, if there's a call that player doesn't like, they have the option to challenge it. And if they win that challenge, I assume they keep the challenge. So it's not going to be like, robo-ump where, they're going to get the calls right, you would think. Or you're going to be able to challenge every single call. No, you're going to get, what you usually get, a challenge. And if you get it wrong, you lose the challenge. If you get it right, then you keep the challenge, which I like. But some of these strike zones for some of these umpires are really bad. And it does bring up a good point because, I do listen to the Michael Kay show a lot. You don't want to have guys constantly challenging every single, strike or every single pitch that's thrown because then it's just the game is going to drag on. And you literally just made improvements to the game where the game is not dragging, where it's under 3 hours now. And I love the pitch clock. I'm a big fan of that rule change. So I like this, and hopefully it gets implemented. Um, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I think the last major thing I wanted to get into, unless there was anything else I was forgetting. Well, actually, no, there were a couple of other things. But I wanted to bring up some hockey, the Four Nations tournament. I did watch the championship game last night between Canada and the United States. Connor McDavid scored the game-winning goal for Canada. They won 3-2 in overtime. It was a very exciting hockey game. Now, I'm not a huge hockey fan. I will admit that. But, I wanted to tune in, see what it was all about. And, I heard about all the fights that were going on with it, during the game. And, that happened quite a few times last night. But these are the best players in the world going at it. And, this is basically All-Star Weekend. Well, it didn't look like a traditional All-Star game. No. They were really going at it in this game. And the NHL hit a home run with this. And this has to continue, and it will continue. The intensity, it didn't feel like it was an All-Star game. It felt like this was Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. I think Steve Levy said on the broadcast or during one of the intermissions. Yeah, it was an exciting game. It was evenly matched. Canada got the win. And there's some other things going on in the world that made this game even more important for the Canadians, but we will not get into that. But this was great. I enjoyed it, and hockey playoffs, the NHL playoffs are really good. So that's coming up soon. We got a great final last year, and let's see what this year brings in the NHL. But I wanted to bring that up as well. I mean, players really took this seriously, because you're playing for your country, and a lot of people take pride in that. So it was great. Continue that, and they definitely will. Now, one of the last things I'm going to bring up here, I don't think there was anything else I was planning on bringing up, but I did allude to this earlier in the show, and that is TMZ. They came across a wild Aaron Rodgers, and they asked him a couple questions about, what are you looking for in a team, and things like that. And he said, well, first, the team's got to want me, and the team's also got to be good. So he answered a couple questions from that. It seems like he wants to play, but it's got to be the right decision. It has to be the right place for him. And now the landscape is not great. I'll be honest. There's not, because people say, oh, San Francisco would be a great spot. Well, they're not going to move off of Brock Purdy. And actually, now that I think about it, the salary cap stuff, that's another team that benefits from it, is the 49ers with Brock Purdy, because they got to pay him. But you would say that, and then you hear the stuff about, oh, if the Rams were to trade Stafford, he would go there. I don't see that. I don't see that happening. I mean, I guess Rodgers, yes, would be cheaper, but Rodgers is also older. So he's going to play. He's going to play. We just got to see where. And we'll find out soon enough. If an injury happens, there's also a chance, he ends up getting signed. I mean, because, I remember, I think there was one year, I think the 49ers, reached out to Ben Roethlisberger one year. It was the year, it was 2022. Yeah, I think it was 2022. Because you had Garoppolo got hurt, Trey Lance started the year, and he got hurt. And, we didn't know what Brock Purdy was going to do. So I think that was the year that they reached out to Ben Roethlisberger, and, of course, he said no. How crazy would have that been, Ben Roethlisberger signing with the 49ers? But, yeah, Rodgers is going to go somewhere. It's just, where is that going to be? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think that was pretty much it. I don't know if there was any other of things I wanted to bring up. The NBA returned. A lot of teams played last night. The Lakers, they won without Luka. The Spurs won without Wemby. The Nuggets won last night. The Knicks won 113 to 111 against the Bulls in overtime. That was a very dicey game. I said the Knicks should win, and they didn't have Josh Hart, no OG Anunoby, no Mitchell Robinson, but they got the win. They improved to 37 and 18 on the season. The Bucks won 116 to 110 over the Clippers. The Cavs won 110 to 97 over the Nets. They improved to 45 and 10 on the season. They've been great. Magic won a close game against the Hawks yesterday, 28, or no, that's their record, 28-29. They won 114 to 108. The Pacers beat the Grizzlies 127 to 113. And the Celtics, they improved to 40 and 16. They won 124 to 104 over the 76ers. And today we got 5 games, spring training games. The Yankees will be playing at 1:05 Eastern time, so I'll be locked into that. You got several games tonight in the NBA. Knicks will be taking on the Cavs, so we'll see how that goes. That's a big game for both teams. The Grizzlies and the Magic play tonight. The Bucks and the Wizards. The Heat and the Raptors. Pistons and the Spurs. The Pelicans and the Mavericks. OKC against the Utah Jazz. The Timberwolves and the Rockets. And then we have 2 28 and 27 teams. You got the Golden State Warriors taking on the Sacramento Kings. And also in men's basketball, big game tonight. NCAA men's basketball. Yeah, Michigan State and Michigan playing each other at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on Fox. So that's a big game there. And we're coming up on March Madness. So I'm looking forward to that. And I've talked about it. Obviously, do a bracket every year. So that'll be fun to do. But that is pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well on the network. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video. And until next time, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, enjoy the weekend, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. Take care.